For a second as we fade in for this 28th of March, 2020. Who knew we would live this long?
It's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't it amazing?
And I'm your hero.
You are.
I saved you a number of times.
Yeah, it is.
A number of times.
Yeah, this apocalyptic thing where you and I are the only two people in a cave, right? Communicating by yelling down a cave. I don't know why I think I may have dreamt something like that overnight or something. It's
Don't
weird.
Don't read Proust every night.
No.
Try Edgar Allan Poe. So one of the things is people don't realize you're nice and sharp and focused and a handsome lad.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
But when you first come on, you were this bubbly, discombobulated, pixelish thing. That's the way you usually look.
That's the way I usually look in the mirror in the morning. Yes, but if you think we look unusual now, have you seen the artwork that Harry Wakefield's daughter prepared for us on the Grumpod page?
Well, yes, I did.
You look like a
handsome guy on the left.
You look like a young Larry Storch.
Thanks a lot.
Isn't that fabulous?
Corporal
and I look like something out of The Queer Eye for the Pandemic Guy. Something very swishy is about to come out of my mouth, and I'm not quite sure what it is. But
you have a beautiful row house on Russian Hill.
That's ridiculous. I think our thanks to Harry's daughter, Agathe is her name, I believe, and merci Agathe. I think that's terrific.
Very much.
I showed it to my spouse, and she absolutely loves it. So, and you're a very handsome-looking lad there with that part and the hair.
That's me 35 years ago.
That's quite something. Yeah. Anyway, we have. If you're looking for, we've got our dedicated page now on Facebook. Again, thanks to Harry Wakefield for all his work. He's still puttering in the back there. So it's facebook.com/Grumpod, Grumpod. We're on Twitter, and we're also adding other functions, and we'll be telling you about that in the coming days. Coming up, our guest today, Eramelinda Boquer, and there she is, the lovely Era. She's standing by. I will be connecting with her in a moment. Also coming down the line, Peter Anthony Holder I contacted today. And Peter and I go back years. He is the Wolf Blitzer, the Iron Man of broadcasting in this city. There's no one more dedicated and more attached to his craft. There's no one like Peter. So Peter's going to connect with us via audio connection in the next few days. And I've also
Peter was gracious enough to allow me to introduce one of the stuff files. I was thrilled.
And he asked me to do the same. And I said, I don't know that I'll be able to follow the performance of Dick Brinston, but I will do my best. Hi.
It really is.
This is Dave. Hi. This is Dave Brust. Hi. You know what you could do? You could do answering machine stuff. Hi, insert name here. This is Dave Bronstetter.
And what did you do?
Hi, this is Dave Bronstetter.
Get away from
Bob is not home right now. But
that's
Cindy, we'll get back to you. And hi. God. And also, I connected with Tommy Harrington.
How are you, boy?
He is he's well dressed. He can hold his liquor, and one of the more talented people.
Like a dog these days.
Speaking of talented and dedicated and professional people in broadcasting, our Thomas is up there in the pantheon of broadcasting. He's still at it. We hear him on CBC Radio. Nothing for me more soothing than to hear Tommy when you're driving down the road there on the newscast. He's so damn good.
He does a great job. And I've always loved that shirt.
That's a terrific shirt. He's a snappy dresser.
He certainly is.
He's marriage material. He is.
He put a picture up on Facebook of his first radio gig in St. John's at an FM. He was a reporter at an FM radio station in St. John's. It's on Facebook. He looks about 7 now. He looked about 4, and they had a special deal with a tailor in St. John's, and he got a Harris tweed jacket.
Yeah.
Knowing Tom, he still has.
Oh, I'm sure he still has it. Yes. Yeah.
And the tie, the tweedy tie, and you want to hug him. He's
Scrubs
just
up.
adorable.
Scrubs
Yeah.
up really well, Tommy does. Yeah.
Attaboy.
So, all right, let's see if we can get on to Era here.
I was trying to
Uh,
reheat my coffee
add
this
to
morning.
call. I'm
Put
trying
it
to
in,
scroll.
you
Putting
put it in the
Era
microwave
Boquer.
oven.
You're microwaving coffee?
I shouldn't, I know, because it changes the metabolic.
Wait,
There she
wait.
is.
There she is.
Hi.
I can't hear you, darling.
No?
Oh, we can hear you
She
now.
just waved. God, you're blind as a bat.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, gentlemen?
We're just fine.
You look great.
Gosh, thank you so much. We must have
Wow.
this conversation more often.
Where do we begin? We might as well begin the way we began last time we chatted with you, which is, my goodness, about 3 years ago already. Era
Yeah,
and
that's
I,
from episode 29, volume 1, if you want to look it up. We had a lot of fun.
Era and I go back, my goodness, more than 40 years. Do you realize that now? It's kind of scary. Era is the resume is too long to go through this morning or this afternoon, but voiceover artist. She is a performance artist. She is an actress. She's a broadcaster. She is a writer. She's a consultant. She's done so many things. She has dubbed porno films. I remember that story.
No kidding. Really?
I have to qualify that. It was soft porn. It was at the beginning of my voiceover career, and it was for a company called Bright Star in Los Angeles, and they were Eastern European girly films. The most exciting it got was they were wearing like see-through raincoats and topless, but it was very silly. It was almost like Monty Python, you know. A guy would come to the door and she'd say, "I have a candy store and I'm out of candy," and he'd say, "I'd like to come and help you find some candy." And then there'd be a zoom pan up to a tower, and things would explode and water would run over things. So I did that in Los Angeles, and I actually did that here in Montreal, and I actually think that was an actor contract.
Really?
Wow.
But it
And
wasn't.
so you did what
It wasn't.
Petrovich saw.
It was Hungarian. Well, the first stuff I did was Hungarian, but it
What
was
Zoltan saw.
yeah. Szeretlek, hogy vagy?
Now,
That's my limited Hungarian. Angelo.
now, speaking of ACTRA, I stumbled upon this yesterday, and I'm terribly sorry I didn't know, but about a year ago, were you not awarded, was it Woman of the Year? ACTRA being the union that you and I are in. Are you an ACTRA member, Dave?
Not in good standing. I can rejoin, but I didn't need to when I went to the SEAB. But yes, I was for a number of years.
Okay, so Association of Canadian Radio and Television Artists to the union, but Woman of the Year for 2019 Era. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes, I remember the day they called me, and it was funny. I think they said something like, "You've been nominated for Actor Woman of the Year," and after that, all I heard was sort of like, you know, like, I'm sorry. I thought you just said, you know, I was overwhelmed, and it was really nice. I was nominated for my performance career, but also for my community advocacy for all the different organizations I work
Yeah,
with.
boy, you do a lot of great stuff
Yep.
out there, kiddo.
I was going to mention
You
that
really
too.
do.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. And let me just do a quick aside here. In the midst of this pandemic, people are stepping up to the plate. I didn't get a screen capture of this, but there is a website out there called jebénévole.ca, JEBENEVOLE.ca. And they can't keep up with the requests from people who want to volunteer. So, and again, just to get back to Era, this is something that you've been doing tirelessly for years. Are you still involved in volunteer stuff?
Absolutely. Still working with the Shield of Athena. I think this is my 20th year with them. It's a multicultural women and children's crisis shelter and family services for victims of family and domestic abuse. And I've been with them for a long time. They serve in 12 different languages, which is really important. Actually, we have a crisis shelter, but we're in the midst of building an apartment building now, so they can have a place. It's called it's sort of like instead of just going out of the shelter and into public housing where they can be found again, we're going to actually have a secure building where they can stay and make their transition into a safer life. Still with Freedom from Poverty Foundation, doing medical clinics in Uttar Pradesh in India with the amazing Dr. Shivendra Dwivedi. Still with my friends at Sun Youth, Milan Mission, Dreams Take Flight. I tell you, when you're single and you don't have kids or pets, that is the way to go.
Wow, that's it? That's all you've been doing?
No, I've been doing a few more things.
Era, how are you doing it? I mean, how are you fixing things up so that you can still help out when you've got to be self-isolating, right? I mean, are you doing virtual stuff? What are you doing?
Well, I'm doing consulting. I still consult. I've done a lot of. I work with a company called the BDH Collective, and we do a lot of consulting and coaching and helping people with public relations. So, still advising a lot of these causes and organizations to help them get their message out there in a really sort of dynamic manner, because at the best of times, community and charity groups are making up for a lot of government shortfall, and right now they are slammed. Actually, Melpa Cabateros, who's my good friend and one of the co-founders of the Shield of Athena, was on CTV yesterday saying that it's especially hard right now for victims of domestic abuse and family violence, because if you're stuck at home with a person who is, it's tough. So I'm just doing what I can to help people with their communications, whether it's a press release or coaching them for an interview or just asking people to donate stuff and help out. I mean, that's what we do,
Great for you.
So what about you now? We were talking about you yesterday on our last cast here, and post CJAD, post Bell Media, not terribly well received. The fact that you were asked to leave, or not asked to leave, but that you were terminated. Let's be straight about it.
Yes. But what the amazing thing is I put a post up on my Facebook, and I'm, we've all worked in media for a long time. This is like, I think this was like the third time, but like everybody else, you're on social media, and the outpouring, I got to tell you, I knew that people liked what I did and they liked my sense of humor, but the outpouring of love, and I still get it to this day. Actually, I was supposed to be teaching a sexism in the media course at the Simone de Beauvoir Institute with Michuko Aramaki at Concordia University. And the first thing she said when she met me was, "Oh my God, I miss you so much." And it's lovely because we've worked in broadcasting, the three of us, and while it is a very big part of our lives, it's nice to know that it doesn't define who we are. That essentially, it is your quintessential self that people actually like. And I'm very pleased to announce that the wonderful Karen McDonald, who won a Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Medal with me for our work at the Shield back in 2013. She's their program news director, and she has hired me to come on board as a weather replacement. So I'll be going back on TV again. Actually, I have already.
Oh, good.
Good.
Excellent.
All right.
Super.
Yeah.
So do you ever sleep?
No, I'm doing a lot of work. I'm still working with the BDH Collective. That's www.bdhcollective.com. It's a creative agency, and we've been doing communications workshops, helping people how to speak clearly. And I know you guys are going to have a laugh at this. I don't want this to be so serious, but we teach the pillars of communication too, which are really important, and we're not seeing a lot of that. I shouldn't generalize, but emotional intelligence and common sense and active listening and symphonic observation. So we do it with individuals, we do it with corporations. We worked recently with Beaver Tails International, which sells those big, wonderful pastries. Evan, you remember them in the Byward Market?
Absolutely.
And they are now international, so we've been working with them. We also consulted for IT Connect for 2 years in a row. That's a big internet conference that's held every year, and so we did event organization and publicity for that. And I'm also teaching at Champlain Regional College now. I'm teaching communications for the internet. Oh, they're going to kill me. ICTS, Internet Communication Technology Services.
Are you doing it online? I mean, you can't do it in the classroom right now, right?
I was supposed to be teaching a big seminar coming up, but now, we're working out. This is Champlain RAC, so this is content. So we're moving to online now. But I've already had to teach some students online because they weren't able to make it to the seminar. So I really like it, and I love teaching. I love my students. I love them so much.
Well, great.
That's great. Well,
So
one of the
terrific.
things you talk about, and you do it too all the time, and Yvonne teaching communications is half the time when you're teaching somebody how to do a media interview, you need to teach them how to listen as well. As people do not, the worst are politicians, of course, and actually a lot of us in the biz, but people really don't know, not that they don't know how to listen, they don't bother to listen properly. It's crucial. I was watching um, an interview for the American Film Institute with James Garner. A very young James Garner was in the Caine Mutiny, the theater production, the Caine Mutiny court martial, and he played one of the judges. And he had nothing to do. I mean, because they all just sit there, right? And directing it was the great Charles Laughton, who was also a brilliant director as well. And Laughton, Garner said he kept falling asleep in the middle of the play, and Laughton took him aside and he says, you got to listen when your chance comes to actually engage that way. But if you learn to listen in small parts, it's going to make a huge difference in your acting career, believe me. And I think a lot of people who go to the media should learn that too. Even when the mic's thrust in their face, they have to listen. It's crucial.
Well, Era will teach them to do that. You're squirming a lot. Do you need your ointment? Do you want us to wait for a couple of minutes?
Oh, I should mention something. We're all washing our hands, right? What's that?
Who's squirming?
He is like
We're
a
all
4-year-old.
We're all washing our hands, right? We're washing our hands a lot. I go over to Yvonne's and wash his hands. Anyway, no, we're all washing our hands. But a report out of Johns Hopkins says it is important because your hands get really dry, of course, from all this washing, to moisturize them as well. Because if they really get dry, you get little cracks in there, and dirty little stuff can get into your skin and make you sick. So if you wash your hands a lot, moisturize everywhere.
Thank you, Dr. Brinston.
That's okay.
He sounds like an Avon representative.
I'm Robert Young.
Yes.
So, well, that's terrific, Era. I'm pleased to hear that you're still very busy because you are a whirlwind. You are a maelstrom of activity. We were talking about Peter Anthony Holder a couple of minutes ago too. We're going to have Peter on the cast in the next few days. There's another one that I haven't seen in a very long time who was just insanely busy and never ever stops. So we need people like you and him in this whole business right now.
Well, I gotta ask because I mean, I'm sure you talk about it, but I know, Ivan, I know you teach communications and you do public relations. So what are you up to right now?
I'm doing well. I've been working from home for the last little while. Things haven't really changed in my schedule because of this whole pandemic thing, because I'm still stuck to my desk here. But I've been doing a lot of media training, and I'm watching, and I'm getting back to what you were saying a moment ago about teaching people to listen and to measure their words. And I was discussing this with my spouse just yesterday. If you're watching the news conferences, there's the Federal every day. There's the Go and Company at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They go on and on. They go on too long. They say what they have to say, and then they engage. They allow themselves to become engaged in discussions with reporters and various things, which I think is counterproductive. And they're also, Horacio Arruda, who's a big star now, who's doing a bang-up job. They're all doing a great job, in my opinion. But
he's the chief medical director, right?
Yeah, terrific guy. But they're spending a little bit too much time telling people what they're not going to do. That's not what you want to hear. Please tell me what you are about to do, what you're going to do, what you plan to do, but don't go into the whole negative space, which is unfortunately what they're doing now. Anyway, I could go on for hours about this.
And of course, there's only so much they can say, and it does get repetitive, and you do end up repeating yourself. But you're right, yeah. They tell people what they can do. Tell them to wash their hands over.
Exactly, and stick to what you have to say, and then turn off the switch and go back to your office at that point. Because, and again, the federal team does that too, as competent Dr. Tam and Dr. Nju and all these other people are very, very competent, and we rely on them. But they sit there and go on much too long every day, in my opinion. End of editorial.
Well, I was watching Nancy Pelosi last night on PBS. This is after they finally signed the $2 trillion package in the States. Finally. And Nancy Pelosi is a product of the Senate. I remember John Kerry used to be like this. It's hard to break out of a mold of the way you talk when you are within a particular culture all the time. And Pelosi was talking to Judy Woodruff the way she talks in the Senate. She doesn't want anybody to interrupt her. She wants to get through her points. And she went on, and I'm a big fan of Nancy Pelosi. She went on and on and on and on and digressed and went all over the place and obfuscated to a certain extent. So even people who are professional speakers have to realize the medium they are on. Nancy Pelosi talking to Judy Woodruff is not the same as Nancy Pelosi at the lectern in the Senate. And I think it is the rare person who can know that audience or know the medium well enough to edit themselves to make it to the point where, because I stopped listening to her after a while. I zoned out.
But the bottom line, regardless of what the medium or what the podium is you're standing behind, the most important person in the chain is the person on this side of the screen. It's Mr. and Mrs. Everybody. That's the person you're talking to. And again, Era, you know this all too well, as you do, Dave, too. And I spend a lot of time now with being a shut-in, analyzing a lot of what I see and hear. And it's part of the job that I do for clients as well, the media analysis, to see how people are communicating. Some do it extremely, very, very well. Others have great difficulty doing it. And I've taken now to sending emails to some people and saying, listen, Bob, if you need help, let me know, because this isn't working for you. And you and I, David, discussed this with respect to retailers and others a couple of days ago, that I went on a rant about some companies that were not terribly
absolutely nuts, Eric.
Not terribly good,
just crazy.
But this is a crucial time now, and and you have to protect your people, you have to protect your brand, you have to protect all sorts of things. And if you fall off the table now when it comes to communications, you're going to be in serious trouble when this whole thing blows over. Anyway, we're getting off
it's okay.
the track here.
Well, actually, it's interesting because just before this all happened, Bernard St. Louis Jean, who is the founder of the VDH Collective, and I got together, and it's just being in the process of edited right now, but we put together a workshop because more and more people, this was before this happened, but a lot more people are online, whether they're like on YouTube or they're doing Zoom chats or stuff. They don't understand, as you said so succinctly earlier, just a moment ago, about, you have to think about certain things, like, what do you look like? Not just like what you're saying, but what do you look like? What's your body language? What's your posture? So we put together a tutorial, not only to show people, how to look and how to present and how to speak and how to listen, but also, techniques you can use for lighting. Like right now, I'm actually lit on both sides. I've never done that before. I learned that in the tutorial. But I think what it is just, it's sort of like the same reaction I get. When you're at a dinner party and you're with that person that's just sort of like droning on, and you're getting desperate, you're looking over your shoulder. It's that kind of look you get when you're at the airport and you're waiting for your baggage to come off that carousel, that sort of desperate look, like, please let it end. Or when the phone rings and you see that name come on, this is going to go on and on. I think we have to be aware now that more than ever, it's always been important, but to be able to communicate well is incredibly important. And also the other thing that my pet peeve right now is I'm tired of people who try to communicate and try to divide people instead of unifying them. That just drives me nuts. Old against young, cases, men against women, Democrats against Republicans. I'm getting bombarded by political parties asking me for money right now, saying, oh, the other guy isn't doing a good job. I don't want to hear what they can't do. What can you do?
Exactly. That gets back to my point. Don't tell me what you can't do for me. A good salesperson always tells you what he can or she can do for you. And again, people don't listen, as Dave was saying. They don't listen to you. They hear you. So what you have to cut to the chase, make it very clear. People like you more when they understand what you're saying. Make sure you have a succinct message to transmit. And that's one thing, just to get back to Legault and Company, that they've got pretty well figured out. Legault gets to the point most of the time when he gets out there. He has a message to deliver, and he delivers it succinctly and clearly, and people are responding. So kudos to him. He's been doing a pretty good job. Anyway, there you go.
I also think too that the media itself has to kind of police itself. I was listening to, I won't say which program, I'm not going to shame, but I was listening to this program on Friday, and the first thing this announcer said was from Ottawa, actually, and he's saying, we're going to play a bit of the Prime Minister's speech, but I don't think he's going to say anything new. And I'm like,
Oh,
what?
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Like, wow.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the television set then.
That's right. Yeah.
But it was just like what he was basically saying is, this is just you could feel, there was a bias there, and
Well, it's actually kind of snarky. I mean, maybe I hadn't heard what the Prime Minister had said before.
Well, it's all about conjecture. And again, there's a lot of this is about conjecture and the questions. And this gets back to what I was suggesting a few minutes ago. The longer you sit there, the more inclined the questions will be towards conjecture. So what do you think? What if? What will happen if? Why didn't you?
How horrible will it become?
How tragic? I heard this once many years ago. How tragic will it be if things go south? What kind of a question is that? How do you reply to that? So that's why you have to stick to the message. And then once you've decided that you've transmitted the message to your satisfaction, you turn off that switch and you go back to your office. And that's one thing that makes me mental about this whole thing. Anyway, we've gone on about this long enough, Era. Just to get back to you. I'm terribly, terribly tickled pink that you're doing well. Lovely to see you, my dear. Any closing words? Any bromides for us?
Oh my goodness gracious me. Well, I got to tell you that I think I mentioned briefly in the email, the last couple of years were kind of tricky because I discovered I had osteoporosis by accident. I fell on the ice a couple of times. It just pretty much broke everything. I actually had to have wrist surgery because I cracked my wrist open. And it was a really weird moment because I had no idea, all of a sudden I was made of glass. And, so I had to spend a lot of time alone. So I was, just recovering. And so I was preparing, I guess, for this self-isolating before then. But I think the most important thing is that, everybody should try and remain patient and calm and laugh a lot. I've been binge
Laughing's excellent.
Brockmire. If you haven't seen Brockmire with Hank,
he loves it.
Oh yeah,
he loves it.
I adore it, and I was bootlegging copies of it for Dave up until recently, and I'm going to try again. And I don't care, Bell Media, if you sue me, go ahead.
No, it's like I try to watch funny things. A kitten video will do in a pinch if I'm feeling a little down because, kitten videos are great. But I also think it's important to make, when people reach out to you and you reach out to them, be positive. Like I told everybody, this is sort of like a political free zone. I want to talk about how you are and how you're feeling and also what can we do because I don't know if you guys, I think we all had the same dad, right? The same dad that said when the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? You remember that expression?
Yeah, pretty much. Or that or, clean your room. But kind of the same thing.
What was the one? Get out of the bathroom already.
Yeah. What are you doing in there all day?
Yeah. Get out of the bathroom.
It was Marty Feldman. My dad used to say to me, get out of the bathroom.
Hey, you kids, get off of the lawn. Yeah.
Anyway,
we actually had a lady on the street who said that to us.
Do you have a
Get
copy?
Off my lawn.
I want to see a copy of the Hungarian porn movies is what I want to see.
But actually, seriously, you're going to kill my career here. They were both they were union jobs. They were just voiceovers. I was not on camera because nobody wanted to see that. I was dubbing. It was how I got my SAG card. It was just, and I got to tell you one thing about dubbing. And once again,
wait a minute, can I hear a bit of the script? Yvonne and I'd like to hear a bit of the script.
That's right.
This is like a guy who'd probably write for a Fox sitcom. it was banal and sophomoric and innocuous. It was literally, I
Yeah,
remember.
but tell us some of it.
But
Okay, it was like,
it's
okay,
like
so
it's
there'd be Gigi who would be wearing, she'd have a like beautiful curly blonde hair and a beautiful, like lipstick, and she'd be like in her kitchen. And it's like, oh my gosh, the pipes have broken. Whatever will I do? And she
That's
stands up to
fantastic.
reveal
No
a.
wonder she won an actor award.
I'm
Right.
I'm
Is there any more?
yeah, I'm getting a
Is
little
there?
aroused here too, actually.
That's not my microphone, and my name isn't Zoltan.
And then Zoltan, the plumber, comes to the door, and it's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Things seem to be all clogged up, and I just know how we're gonna get them open.
That's right.
And he's got a wrench about that big, right?
And he's
Nothing
yeah,
else but a
yeah.
huge
He's got
wrench.
overalls and no shirt on, right?
Actually, you saw the same movie. I swear to God. But as I said, this was not the hardcore. This was incredibly soft stuff. This was like the
Drove from Budapest.
and it was a voiceover. And actually, and as I said, and I did some here in Montreal too, but they were all just incredibly silly. As a matter of fact, I think we wasted a lot of studio time from laughing. And also
I'll
too,
bet. Yeah.
like, because seriously, after a while you'd try to read the script, and I swear, like, a grade 3 reading book would probably be deeper. It would be almost
But it
Kafka.
reminds me of a line in the most recent episode of Brockmire, Hank Azaria. He says, excuse me, he says, he's coming out of some sort of event. He says, that's the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And he says, I actually attended a Scientology jazz brunch.
He is just amazing.
That's
So wait a minute. Era, did Zoltan finally fix her pipes?
Well, you guys used to watch Monty Python's Flying Circus, right?
That.
So whenever they would get together and they would start to kiss, and this honestly was totally innocent. There was no heavy duty petting or touching. It was just a lot of face smushing and what do they call that, tongue hockey, and a lot of kissy sounds. And then as they were about to do whatever, as the kids would say, hook up. Then the camera would zoom to the sky, and a tower would crumble down, and water.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No,
A train going to a tunnel and
it was weird.
A smokestack falling. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Directed by Fritz Freeling. It was just.
okay.
So it sounds as if Bonanza was sexier than this.
I would say that 99% of what you've seen in paper towel commercials was sexier than this.
Wow.
It was,
All right.
That's suggestive.
Well, let us leave it here because we could go on forever. Era, it was a delight talking to you, my dear.
Yeah. Good to see you, kiddo.
Good
You're
to
well.
see you.
Everything's okay?
Yes, everything's great. And I hope this will not be like 3 years again. I would love to join you guys again anytime.
Okay, for sure. Absolutely.
Next week.
This will be going on for some time, so we will contact you again.
Okay, I look forward to it. I love you both.
Love you, dear.
Bye, sweetie. Take care.